Abusia Funny and for One Hana all the latest update no so I'm subscribing but more than has subscribe my son be keep updated. Yes, everybody in feeling chimney and candy or one chamoy. Iddrisu and a sorry of parliament. Now the way will see Ṣhame NPP MPs and now coming in our boom and the fan of no cocoa board. I don't go a fan of more land and natural resources. I the fan of more ECG. I the fan of more education. All the ministry are Greek finance baby. What do be a carbo market coming here tables at then a magana from a chamasa. Tama na a can offer taba parliament near Casa Channel no tea. Now you people Edwin say no more pegana for some. Now modern say oh opposition for this animal kasa mo. Meanwhile all of you animal the NPP MP side no. Now you people know ebia now you dump. Now you people know said baby or minor direction edge and yet that was the reason why Ibimunya board from your NPP side almost 88 people from NPP MPs babo because say baby I can offer that your minor nature and yet no say Afenyo marking say be can no board chair or ECG. She debt amode to ECG. Na ma bana or aban ne ehye ne ma mun san kama no ntum musenya no de kasa common ECG any cocoa board or small intima manage our can e be crampo tree e dey chese o man di omoni Ghana for ending ye omoni Ghana for ending ye kra yes every nkoni nkoti nsema here no Iddrisu the edit.
We're ready for the commentary, Mr. Speaker.
Comment.
We are ready for the
commentary, not the debate.
When you say it's a debate, we will just continue as a debate.
Very well. I believe there's a thin line between commentary and debate. So, honorable members, we have the list here, and as usual, we will start. Are we starting with the minority or majority? Okay, let's start with the Minister for Education. Minister for Education, Honorable Iddrisu, a member for Timari South. Honorable member, you have 15 minutes for you are a minister. 15 minutes.
Speaker, let me thank you for the opportunity to contribute to the budget statement and economic policy of the government of Ghana, which was presented on behalf of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama by the Honorable Atu on the theme resetting the economy for the Ghana we want. And Mr. Speaker, in doing so, to focus on 3 areas. Primarily, I should be speaking just education, but still as a citizen of Ghana, there are some matters of national interest which are of concern to me as a citizen. One, Mr. Speaker, is for us to accept that when the Honorable Minister for Finance said that we have inherited an economy in crisis and an economy in distress, it's an understatement to say that Ghana's economy is in crisis. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, our economy is not only hidden by debt, but what we should be mindful of as a country is the burden we are continuing to impose on the Ghanaian taxpayer. Even economists have agreed that it is not about growth projection and about how much economic growth of GDP is the best measure of your living standard. The truth is that in Ghana, Mr. Speaker, cost of living is high, cost of doing business is high, an enabling environment for the private sector to deal with matters of employment is not being addressed. So, Mr. Speaker, I just take 2 sectors, then I come to education. Take, for instance, the cocoa sector, which used to produce 850 metric tons of cocoa. We even achieved 1 million tons of cocoa. Today, with all the investment we have made, Mr. Speaker, we are only boasting of 530,000 of tons of cocoa. And out of it, 330 tons are already committed, with a debt of 3.2 billion. Road sector, a non-core activity, 21 billion. And Mr. Speaker, this House must take a position to protect the Ghanaian taxpayer. If the construction of roads It's not the core business of Cocoa Board. When their work program or anything come here, Parliament must scrutinize it and take a decision appropriate. We cannot continue this where this year, if we buy cocoa, a portion of it will be used to service an outstanding debt relating to the inability of the previous government to settle its cocoa production volumes. Mr. Speaker, take ECG, another debt hidden SOEs. And Mr. Speaker, as a country, we must again take a decision. Ghana needs a second gas plant beyond Atuabo. We should be thinking of reinvesting and having a major gas plant that will reduce the amount of money we are spending on fossil fuel, diesel and petrol to power and every day when there's a lack of connectivity with the West African gas pipeline. You cannot have adequate electricity, and we say that there's doomsday or there's no doomsday and come here debating it. Mr. Speaker, I think that we would need to invest in some gas plant. Then, Mr. Speaker, even on cocoa, to our colleagues opposite, Minister for Agric, at the time I'm talking about, Nigeria koto cocoa sumami amoentima. Then you come here and say that we must help you. Just take money and go and buy cocoa and sell. You couldn't sell cocoa well, and you are hurting the country in a way that it used to be Ghana's major export earning. It used to be a source of employment, cocoa revenue essential, and with all the investment we have made, we cannot increase the production of cocoa. Mr. Speaker, take La Côte d'Ivoire. A country hit by war can do better than Ghana in the production of cocoa. There is something fundamentally wrong with our country. That is why it needs a reset. Then, Mr. Speaker, let me mind my own business and talk about education. It is the future. And Mr. Speaker, we need to invest in quality, equitable, inclusive education. That President Mahama will do. But he would have to double, as he is seeking to double, investment in the education sector. About 1.2 to 1.5 billion will be required in the educational sector. Mr. Speaker, UNESCO is reporting that Ghana is doing well in terms of access to higher education and tertiary education. But the problem is lecture theaters. Students are put in clusters. We're busy implementing free senior high school. We did not prepare for their absorption into institutions of higher education. That requires major heavy investment in the tertiary institution to accommodate the exponential increase. You are now talking of 150 to 330,000 free senior high school graduates. No lecture theaters, no accommodation. You are forcing them into clusters. Mr. Speaker, it is for this reason that President Mahama and the Minister for Finance is uncapping the GET Fund to free resources. But Mr. Speaker, I should admit that even with the uncapping of GET Fund, the resources will not be enough, because it comes handy that when you have uncapped resources of 4.1 billion and you have to spend 3.7 billion on free senior high school, it means that you not have enough to invest in infrastructure in tertiary education. But Mr. Speaker, again, I raise this issue because my colleague, former Minister of Education, is here. There were some good initiatives at digitalizing education and modernizing it. About $365 million spent on laptops. That is not enough. It's covering only 10 to 15% of the student population of our country. The laptops are not fully in use because the component, either charging or battery system, has to be fixed enough. We need to do something about it. And then, as I said, value for money for the taxpayer. Then, Mr. Speaker, I come to Almighty Free Senior High School and to assure this August House that, as President Mahama indicated, Free Senior High School has come to stay. Mr. Speaker, there is no decision, and there will be no decision by President Mahama to end Free Senior High School. In fact, Mr. Speaker, according to an author, Boatima, she says that it's the most aggressive reform in education in Ghana. But Mr. Speaker, we've just ended a National Education Forum where we had over 5,000 stakeholders participate in it and have raised critical questions. Some of the findings and recommendations of the Education Committee, Mr. Speaker, I'll bring back to this August House. For instance, free senior high school. Why must every student pass? You have a system where when you do educational assessment, maybe you have aggregate 25, you have aggregate 30, you have aggregate 35. It makes no distinction as to respecting assessment. Everybody passes. The train is on, and the train is on so long as you are entering free senior high school. So stakeholders have raised the question of what our colleagues in government did was to expand the definition of free compulsory universal basic education to include free senior high school. That is your new definition of it. Go to the Constitution. The Constitution defines free compulsory universal basic education. And Mr. Speaker, universally, everywhere in the world, basic education is preschool, kindergarten to primary school to junior high school. Only Ghana had the novelty. Yes, it has an advantage. You are producing a literate population. But questions have been asked whether we should not establish an educational trust fund and provide that those who can pay, and those who cannot pay, through a means test, you can determine it. But to assure the country, Mr. Speaker, that we will work to improve the quality of free senior high school. So the essence of a research and a review in free senior high school is to improve its quality and de-emphasize quantity. That we are just producing people for that purposes. Mr. Speaker, we need to revolutionize investment in digital education, and we will do so through some investment in that aspect of our educational provision. Then, Mr. Speaker, I should now be celebrating some progress that will be made and some progress that have been made. At least for the first time, some 499 million have been allocated for non-academic fee policy. There were the naysayers who didn't believe that this was possible. There were those who said that this was just a manifesto pledge. It will be redeemed, and it's been redeemed. The Ghana Tertiary Education Commission will work with the Student Loan Trust for this money to be disbursed to affected students. Mr. Speaker, arising out of some poor family background, some poor female students are unable to be in school because of their inability to afford sanitary pads because of the cost related to it. There is evidence statistically that some of them absent themselves and some even drop out of school. President Mohammed and the Minister of Finance have made available 292 million for sanitary pads for the over 1.3 million girls in both primary and secondary schools. Sometimes in May, Mr. Speaker, the President will distribute the sanitary pads in honor of his pledge to the electorate as part of his campaign in December. Mr. Speaker, on Get Fund and CAPS, at least it brings some resources. If you look at the appendix to the budget, there's 8.6 billion allocated to the Ghana Education Trust Fund. Assuming 3.5 of it is taken, we will need to focus on the completion of 62 uncompleted Get Fund projects spread across the country. The Speaker, I intend to take 22 of it for this year, then roll out in the next couple of years, so that. But, Mr. Speaker, again, Parliament of Ghana, Directive Principles of State Policy, imposes an obligation on the state and the president to continue projects initiated by previous government. It is so wrong that we must stop that practice that when there is change of government, projects do get stalled. Mr. Speaker, there are a number of projects in the country today. I was in Kumasi to pay my respect to Otumfuo. Mr. Speaker, when you go to Kumasi, you are driving around Ṣhame, you will not be a happy person. When you go to Takoradi, they are interchange, you will not be a happy person. The La Polyclinic, you will not be a happy person. So when we say that you had no superior debt management, Ken Ofori used to stand here, Mr. Speaker, at the time I was here. We used to caution you that he doesn't have superior debt management strategy. What happened to your Fiscal Responsibility Act? I remember Chairman Kwating, even in some of the meetings and openly being critical. I will recognize that. I have enjoyed recording with you that we said that no, this was not the way to manage the economy. What it means, Mr. Speaker, with those store projects is additional cost to the state, additional cost to the taxpayers, because for 1.5 years, we have stopped the running of all those projects, even including Tamale Wale Bolgatanga Road, have been stalled because of debt exchange, because we cannot pay external creditors and others. So, Mr. Speaker, this House, Parliament again, we allow borrowing, no limitations, no limit. There has to be a cap on the amount that can be borrowed in order that we give value for money to the taxpayer. Mr. Speaker, let me conclude by saying that some revolutionary work has been done in the area of technical and vocational education. We need to expand access to technical and vocational education and invest more in it. Mr. Speaker, I'm told that there was a 158 million euro project on technical vocational education, which stalled again as a result of debt exchange, poor management of the economy. Because of this, we can access the international capital market. That project too has come to a stall. But Mr. Speaker, the beauty of what was initiated is that all other technical vocational education systems now come under COVID, but at different levels of standards. Some are at some good quality, some poor quality, and some just beginning. We need to invest more. I see that some TVET institutions were built across the country. So, Mr. Speaker, let me conclude by saying that President Mahama will focus on basic education, free, compulsory, universal basic education.
We see for hearing Iddrisu near 10 in Kano. A year and a parliament almost speak and no team say fort kakrabum tiama a year parliamentarians for no more kasa or more base kakra. Mama my man kata because yes, a mobile base and no more kasa. Inti inunity hearing Iddrisu in some no kinda a near ma a thousand. On one kasa saw the Nico share a commerce. Oko otiko course asante hini utum for ho. Eko sirano kakra. Na oko no. Usi untimi fa plane free Accra. Inkusi Menshia Street. And then obisi afaka. We don't know class a herine Iddrisu for car na koya na assassin. Or chase oko drew a Ṣhame roundabout. Nana interest na e would dear reho na kumum. NPP for pa stronghold penny. Biaya NPP for almost a month salmon sano. NPP for pound cofaco trembra. Number 2 man pie any. And is ja NPP for a treaty a year asante for SR. Won't mean Cassenti a moment to aban because I'm on a name dear how my dream. Ye name dear air course wide dreaming. Be educated, ye name dear course wide dreaming. Say Newz pan or Munti dear, we don't know. Senkamun nim si kapa or mode a yes Ṣhame. Ene a year interchanges a hodom car some bayano. That places na ka ubese sound sisi. Ṣhame interchange. Kofu dia she budget normal locatis kamano. 5 interchanges and cars on Bayama a year Ashanti region. And a Ṣhame ka. If you are funny no, the share budget in normal locatis camano. The share budget in normal locatis camano. It says canon no more locating every year. I'm those 5 interchanges away. Because Parliament approved the budget. Tiboka Kojibusia Babe, no more approve it. Oka Kojibusia Babe, no more approve it. It says canon in our way. Man you, come on round about no crown kakra. More said to form at the chance that Jimbo chance than a bubutugu, nay so I caught tie and near a form number to Moses and their foundation is so I caught tame. And I say pie and tom G a for, and we win more from a new. Still now must see NPP. So no dear onim dear has uncle for no onim dear hard dreamer. Now so no NPP for a moment who sent Kofu a domo. Don't be beyond domo. I don't know moon treat you fairly. Be door and uncle ye dodger. I know moon treat you. Tozo okofa ono odi awerho na kuma papa ejeni ya pa nyina na kenfra ta hye white kasa quotations and no wakɔhye bi man so ye frosty brabe answer questions woto na wototo bo ba park ne so nye Ghana ne peso so sani ma wiso enfa ne peso so sani ma wiso nye Ghana ne peso so sani wiso enfa pa ne peso so sani man so wo ye niema bi allegedly enye brabe answer wo si umma wo che data wo de beba obi a wo yare utimi troll ten wo yare utimi si obi se court en na wo de umma court nko enfu bi ensamo obi ba wo de intimi ensamo sanka court no so nipa na wo se yensi wo no bit ma say the next 50 years and obe court no so bende my seti president bi a sebi entasum so a year in Iddrisu etwa ne sound so can say even common koko jiska koto ya enyeska no jikoto koko no ni went man koto koko am ya saboka like how like odwon won ti o masi when people for odwon won ti o masi ECG Afenyo mark now your boche mo manage ECG hwe ka maso agu aden agrek hwe ka maso agu BOG hwe ka maso agu inti aden na mudi o man abrosa na aban foforo aba because Ghana for them no mondwe omo ho mutrimo den papa mondwe omo ho de modwe ho an sem be win elections de modwe ho an po mutrimo den na omu nye sa mistake ni bim inti monkopa be binta na monsua se binyansa inti no monkopa be binta na aban foforo aba no hihye ni maso a you the same people asenya no it's him the kasa criticize the old government there ben +1 in 8 years no moye +1 adie +1 ben 8 years ni no moye mo fambra itim biso bu Ashanti region anasa regional minister say edie no maye ma sentiment jina so nto abama boniema 5 untimi mbo ebi wen osibi dam office na jira like these people no niema mienu didi kan pa ho hia is either some who say Ghana for ye Jimmy sebi ye nyina ya damp and I say 2 is either omwanga so mu ye wicked to the me be omon fa cause anyesa nipa bi o conscience enye den these people ye no ene yesi national security for abora BOG adem Afenyo marking kasa no se na escape bi wo dem ho nti national security for nafa enkra we for example o porch she obutum na hwe nim enka say bi o ma fa na so mo for but e bitimisi the moment I was a porch obi afa no utimi criticize na 500 million Ṣhame porch nim nti ewen wafa the moment so na make us say you don't know e bia na hwe ni porch nim but wafa nkwa de obitima criticize because moko wan go fa konye wan fa the porch na kon kasa skebishem so no we don't know sa case na ampa na senya ampa dia we don't know but niema herina Iddrisu dia tudwa no niema eto asom ne hyenkran na o kanche Ghana fo nyina so mko makoma ntomim na John Dramani Mahama oberu reset Ghana aye Ghana yi ama Ghana fa ntoma papa ye de Afria haya for 1 GG Akroma